to me, the purchase reverse mortgage, the HECM for purchase, was and still is the sleeping giant of the senior real estate world. And I'm back to beating up the industry because our industry, other than a great team that you've put through, we have some great people at Mutual of Omaha. We have some great people throughout the industry, but a small group that know how to talk to realtors, that know how to talk to the type A personality that's going, when are we closing? When are we closing? When are we closing? But I have taken a different tack with the purchase reverse mortgage over the last few years, and I'm not doing a ton of them. I won't give you a line of crap, but I'm doing more than most. And I have changed, and I probably I think, maybe I'm wrong, I probably have educated more realtors in this country. I'm up to about 20,000 that have gone through my school. Obviously, with COVID, I wasn't doing much, but I have the records of about 20,000 realtors in the last 12 years that I've taught about the HECM for purchase. And it wasn't until 4 or 5 years ago that I realized I was doing it wrong. I was talking to them about the heart and the soul and how it changes people's lives not to have a mortgage payment. And of course, I taught them that you don't lose your house and it's not high closing costs and your children are not screwed out of their inheritance. That's all crap. I taught them that first, but I went for the heart and soul. And it wasn't until somebody smarter than me said, wait a minute, do the math. You're telling me if somebody has $500,000 to pay cash and they're moving to the west coast of Florida where I live, but they could be anywhere in a beautiful area. But let's use the Tampa Bay area, where inflation has been so incredible the last 20 years that where 10, 15 years ago, 500,000 got you what I would refer to as a McMansion. Now it just doesn't. Now when somebody says to a realtor, I want a 4-bedroom, 3-bath because the grandkids are going to visit me. I'd like a pool with a spillover hot tub, and I really want an island in the kitchen. And we just sold my house in Pittsburgh, and I have $500,000. Well, in most cases, realtors in this area of Florida, or a lot of area of Florida, and New York and New Jersey and Arizona are going, yeah, we could have done that 15 years ago, but $500,000 isn't enough. Are you telling me you can take a person with $500,000 cash and sell them a $700,000 house? That's the math. There's our 33%. And they'll still have no principal and interest payment for as long as they live? And they're in their dream retirement home, the one they really wanted? Are you telling me you can take a $700,000 cash buyer and turn that into $1 million sale and give them the house of their dreams and they have no principal? Yes. It wasn't until I started ending my classes with, do you understand what I'm saying? Not only will you get more referrals because you're selling them their dream retirement home, you're increasing your commission by 40%. I had to touch their greed button. It took 15 years to learn that. And that's when my classes started producing reverse mortgages. So sad as it may be, I am helping a lot of people after my classes not settle for a less expensive home, but to literally get their dream home. But I had to deliver that message to the realtor that you benefit by doing this. That's our world today. That's, well, you know, again, I blame the industry for not getting this message to 2 million realtors, of which only 20% actually sell a home.
Yeah, well, you know, I don't disagree with what you're saying, but you're assuming that all realtors are greedy and will not make decisions based on the heart and caring
Not
about
all,
their clients.
just most.
Yeah, and quite frankly, that's the case among financial advisors and loan officers.
And shoe salesmen and bakers, and if my father was alive, he'd say, and firemen and candlestick makers. That's the world. That's why I don't think I'm insulting anybody. That's
right.
our world.
Yes, but it's also the fault, if you're going to get your boxing gloves out, you better do some working out, Michael, because you got to punch out all the loan officers, and then you got to punch out the financial advisors, and now you got to punch out the real estate community. Because why on earth aren't they talking about it? They've done a better job of creating wealth than most financial advisors. There's $14 trillion. That's more money than is in IRAs. So the real estate industry, despite all of the complaints that people make about realtors and mortgage people, we have together created $14 trillion worth of wealth for people over 62 and $35 trillion nationally. That's a lot of money in one asset class. So you need to get on the case of the realtors, all of the realtors and the National Association of Realtors, because why aren't they doing better education? Because most people over age 62 are in the wrong house, and most people should move. They should move to a smaller house. They should move to a house on one level. They should move to a house closer to their grandkids. They should move, and they're not doing it because their house is A, paid off, or B, the house is got a 3% mortgage on, and they don't want to move because they'll never get a mortgage that cheap again. So when those two things are explained to realtors, along with the fact that you can go from a $400,000 house to a $700,000 house, I went from a $600,000 house to $1 million house in Minneapolis, closer to my kids, which is wonderful to be close to the grandkids and everything. So I fully understand how important that is, and more people need to get that as they're moving south or moving to a house in the mountains, house in the on the beach, on the golf course, whatever it is they want, but most likely closer to family. The overwhelming issue on reverse for purchase is realtors have a negative attitude. And I think you know this, but I just want to make sure that it's clear in this podcast. The reason most realtors are negative about this is because they sold a house where all of the heirs were really ticked off that they didn't get what they thought because mom and dad had that. And so they first need to understand that before, because even if you incentivize them with money, if they had a bad experience because the heirs did not like a reverse mortgage, first they need to understand that mom and dad were taken care of. The heirs didn't get as much. Mom and dad should have talked to them about it. But without question, that is that needs to be tackled first, so they understand that they're not bad. The reason that the kids didn't get as much is because mom and dad used the money, and they just were afraid to tell about it. So overwhelmingly, you are right. There are any group that I've worked with, we generally led the nation with percentage of our loans, 15 to 20%, being purchase mortgages. And that's very important. So I'm glad that you're highlighting it, because most people should move in their 60s, not in their 80s. And the problem is people wait until somebody dies, somebody gets sick, somebody falls and breaks a hip, and then, oh yeah, we're going to have to move. And that is a horrible time to move. And so we must educate the real estate community, not just our borrowers. We got to educate the real estate community to understand. When my sister bought a house with a reverse mortgage, the realtor called me up and said, hey, I need a approval letter. And I said, okay, I'll send that right out. She said, what kind of mortgage is this that your sister is getting? And I said, it's a HECM home equity conversion mortgage, reverse for purchase. She said, oh my God, does your sister have bad credit? I can take her to the credit union. Maybe she can get a loan there. That was the immediate thing out of and I said, no, she's got a 780 credit score. That's not really the problem. She's doing it because it's the smartest thing to do, and because my sister has plenty of money and doesn't need to, but she's doing it because it's a very smart thing, and she's going to get a tremendous tax benefit because she's buying a house with a reverse for purchase. People with money should do it. Most of your clients should buy a house with a reverse mortgage, even if they have plenty of money, because they got plenty of money. They have to pay a lot in taxes, and most people don't realize that buying a reverse for purchase, buying a house with a reverse, is one of the most powerful tax savings scenario. I just had a client that can pull out $1 million out of their IRA, completely tax-free, because they are financing a house with a reverse mortgage between now and the next 15 years. So without question, we've got to get this information out to real estate agents and to financial advisors, because financial advisors should be talking about it, because the majority of people are in the wrong house. And so I tell realtors when I do a seminar, the blood is on your hands, real estate agents. If you guys don't get a listing and get people like me out of that house that they don't belong in, people are going to die of falls, tripping on stairs, everything else. So you better get people out, because they're in the wrong house financially and emotionally and physically.